Hello, hello, hello. Happy Black History Month, everyone. My name is Michelle Hercules. I am the CEO of Hercules Innovative Technology Solutions, and I will be the moderator today. I am overly excited for our masterclass guest today. We have the amazing Mary Galloway. She has done some wonderful work in the cybersecurity space. And I just want everyone that is joining today to be prepared to be just put on by, her journey, the work that she's doing. If you tuned in for the last masterclass, Latoya spoke very highly about creating a tribe and the importance of ensuring that you have a community and you have a team to help support you when you are in this cybersecurity field. And so Latoya, when she contacted me, she was like, you have to have Mary on as our next guest. And so I'm not going to do anything else more. I would love for you to be able to provide, some background and speak to the organization that you are the CEO of.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm really happy to be here as well. I love doing these kind of events and activities and talking to the community and folks that are coming up in the ranks. So I'm Mary Galloway. I am based out of Las Vegas, Nevada. So if you're ever in Sin City for gambling or tourism or anything like that, let me know. Happy to hang out with you. I have been in the cybersecurity space for almost 14 years now at this point. I started as a network engineer on a government contract in the DC area, helping the National Geospatial Agency through Accenture transition from all of their individual locations in the DC area to one location in Springfield, Virginia. And then I kind of just moved around and did a bunch of different things in networking, security, got a bunch of certifications in between, worked for Homeland Security as a federal employee for almost 2 years. And then I decided I wanted to quit the government and go private sector.
Mm-hmm.
Which brought me to Las Vegas 6 years ago. My goal was always to be in the government, right? I wanted to be an SES. I wanted to run all these things. And then somebody was like, you know what? Opportunities are a little bit better outside. So, and they were right. Did vulnerability management, helping build out programs at the casino and architecture for them for 4 years, and then moved to the company I'm at now, a vendor for cybersecurity tools. I am a sales engineer. So I've gone from networking to security, insider threat stuff to SOC stuff to architecture to VM to sales, pre-sales side. Lots of money on this. Don't be afraid. I'm still technical. I just have to learn our products and tools. And we specialize in SOC automation. So if anybody out there is interested in learning more about SOC automation and how we can help you transform, let me know.
And I'll now pause right there. What excites me too is that there's so many different realms in cybersecurity or different information technology areas that help support cyber. And so just looking at your portfolio of work, you have the work that supports cybersecurity. Then you also have the true cybersecurity, like system architecture we haven't talked about yet. So, we could probably tap into that a little later. But yes, I'm glad that you mentioned the different pieces of information technology and how it supports cyber.
I have a little bit of risk in there too with vulnerability management.
Yes.
Not a lot, but there's enough in there to be like, okay, let's figure out how to prioritize and fix things. But it's fun, right? I'm an expert in a lot of things, but you have to be well developed and be able to transition very quickly in the space if you want to stay in the space and move up in the space. So outside of that, I have my own business. I do bookkeeping and cybersecurity training, content creation. I also run the Women's Society of CyberJitsu. We are a 501c3 national nonprofit dubbed the CyberJitsu Tribe. So if you see that hashtag, that's us. And we basically just provide a community, a safe space for women to come and learn and get hands-on with technology and cybersecurity, and to find their tribe of supporters and folks that are going to push them and challenge them and help them be successful as they're navigating through cybersecurity, IT, whatever it is. We do conferences, we go to conferences, we have networking events, we have leadership opportunities across the gamut. We have members that are in other countries. So if you're in another country, we have membership there. We are trying to expand our chapters officially into these other countries, but we do have a very big presence in the space, and we have a lot of different partners that we work with to help bring, cost-effective ways to learn and grow in the space to the masses.
And let's not skip the award that you received in 2019, if you just wouldn't mind elaborating on that a little bit.
Yeah, so from ISC Squared, right?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So I received the inaugural diversity award that ISC Squared submitted or put out for the organization. Basically, chapters can nominate who they feel would be a great candidate or a great recipient for this particular award. And it was for the work that we do with CyberJitsu. And it's not just me, right? It's a whole team of folks. We're all volunteers. I get a little bit of money from it right now because we have a grant. And so that's what's paying me. But for the most part, everybody is a volunteer. So all of the stuff on the website you see, all of the events that people put on, everything that we do pretty much is run by volunteers.
Well, first and foremost, I want to just say congratulations, because it's not easy. And one of the things that you mentioned that I'd like you to go into is, particularly if you're a Black woman in cybersecurity, a lot of times you're asked to be the encyclopedia of everything and, be the jack of all trades, but then the master of all, right? And so how have you been able to balance that? Because with that, there's pressure sometimes, there's burnout associated with it. And so, how have you been able to handle that?
I don't know if I am. Maybe. I don't know. Could be, possibly. For the most part, my entire career, I've been the only Black woman in the office the entire time. Yeah. Now that I think back about it, like, okay. That was technical, right? Yeah. So there was other Black women in the space, but for me, I'm on a team of technical people and I'm the only one. And I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? And I mean, early on, it was a struggle. Early on, I didn't really think I knew there was an issue, but I didn't think it was an issue. Like, I didn't think it was as big as it was. And a lot of times I kept my head down. I didn't want to ruffle feathers. So I didn't want the stereotype of, oh, she's an angry Black woman, or she's, because she's passionate, she's got these issues. And so for the longest, I kept my head down. And that can affect you. That can affect your trajectory, because people don't know what you can do. Like, I can do a lot of things. Right. Half of those things nobody knows that I can do because I don't talk about it. I'm not putting it in the forefront. Sure. That changed when I found CyberJitsu and kind of started getting into those leadership roles and had to take the role that I'm in now. Because you have to be in the forefront. People look at organizations and they look at who the leadership people are. And so you have to be out there. And so the experience of keeping my head down and kind of staying to myself and just kind of doing things in the background, I remember what I was doing, and I used that to be more open and out in the front and get out there. I still hate being out in public a lot of times, but I love public speaking and I love these things, right? So.
Sure. Would you say you created CyberJitsu just so you could have an authentic voice and be yourself? Or did you create it because you just really felt like there was a need?
So our founder is actually Lisa Jiggets. Okay. She's Japanese and Black, Air Force, plays soccer, artist. And she created it because she felt that there wasn't a place or a safe space for women in general to come to and learn and get hands-on. And obviously this was during a time where there weren't any other cybersecurity focused nonprofit organizations for women. Mm-hmm. There were others, like Women in Tech and Girl Development and some of these other groups, but specific for women in the space, there wasn't anything. And so she created that. Awesome. I came about 6 months later because I failed the CISSP.
Well, let's talk about we could talk about the CISSP.
That's one cert that will never expire.
Yes. So for those that aren't aware, if you are in like the cybersecurity assurance risk management space, it is very important to get your CISSP. It can be extremely challenging. And so, yes.
It's an understatement. It's definitely worth it, right? I got it in 2013 after the study group, and all of the certifications that I have, that's the one that I make sure stays current. Smart. Every single year has to, because I don't want to take that test again. They've changed it. So it's less questions, less time, but it's just one of those things where it's like, it's so intimidating.
Yes.
Like even more so than the SANS courses that I took and the SANS certifications, which are open book.
Sure.
It's like this looming thing over you. If you don't pass, it's like, crap, you got to study again. You got to pay again. You've got to wait for the promotion. Like it's all of those things combined, but it's one of those things that's really worth it once you get it. And
yes.
Yeah.
So talk to us about some of the offerings that CyberJitsu has. And then, my apologies, you are on the board for CyberJitsu. So speak to that as well, because, a lot of times companies are created, we try to create like a strong board of directors, but then people don't really know how to do it. They're like, I think I'll bring my friend in, so speak to the strength of like the board of directors and like any service offerings that you guys have now.
So we do have a lot of offerings. Some of the things that are coming up more recent. We have a lot of different workshops coming up next month. We've got a Python workshop.
Nice.
If you're a member of CyberJitsu, you get access to free Splunk training and free Palo Alto training. And so we have a webinar to talk about that actually next week on the 2nd. We've got Wicked Six at the end of the month. So we like to do the games. The women around the world love to play games. And so when we have the cybersecurity thing with Wicked Six, it started off as a college competition to bring 6 of the top college teams to Vegas to play in HyperX Arena in 2019. It's freaking amazing. It's on wicked6.com if you haven't seen it.
Nice.
And while it was a fundraiser, it was a co-ed event, but they all had to have at least one woman on the team.
Okay.
We actually had the top 3 teams. The 3rd place team was an all-female team.
Okay.
So that was even better. But the Wicked Six coming up now is a global event. It's a 24-hour cyber game, CTFs from various different vendors and organizations, along with talks and people doing presentations, and some in the native language of that country for that time zone.
Wow.
So in like India, whatever language, whoever's speaking, whatever they speak, they can speak in their language to that people. And it's one of those things that takes cybersecurity from mainstream and trickles it down into the community so that people that may have never even been able to understand what cybersecurity is can understand it.
That's awesome.
And that's with our partner Play Cyber. They host those kinds of events all the time. But like I said, we do hands-on workshops. So usually 3 or 4 hours on a Saturday. We do not boot camps, but kind of like boot camps. So we'll do like a 6-week GCP training or a 6-week cloud boot camp. We'll do study groups. We'll do, we have Try Hack Me sessions that our competition team will run through and walk through how to do it and how to navigate and try to figure out cyber competition practices all the time. Lots of ways to get involved and get your hands on technology and also volunteer.
Sure.
And give back as a speaker or an instructor or a facilitator for one of the study groups. We have that option for them as well. And then leadership. Mm-hmm. So I have board experience from when I was in college doing stuff and in high school. And boards are very different across every organization. So,
everyone wants to get on one. You see them getting closer. Like, how'd you get on it? Like, what's the...
Well, when I was in the study group, Lisa was like, hey, I like how you think. Come join the board, because she was just starting the organization at the time and she didn't have a board yet, but we had a couple of folks that she brought on, like Elena and Marcel. They've been around since I've been around. And it was more about being asked. Mm-hmm. So if you're working with people, if you're working in an organization or somebody, like if you and I were working together, it's like, hey, I'm starting this business. I have this board. You want to join it type of thing. It works. There's a lot of free training out there on how to be on a board. There's a lot of organizations that will teach you how to be board certified, to understand accounting and to understand how to do programs and how to track and how to fundraise and all these different things to be successful. My goal is to join for-profit boards. For-profit boards pay.
Awesome. Right. Yeah, this is true. This is true. And the reason, and not to cut you off, but the reason why I think it's important, a lot of times I think when you are in the cybersecurity space and you're grinding, right, you just have your head down, you don't know about all these other opportunities that are out there, right? So a lot of times you're looking at, how do I get to the highest level within my career? How do I get the training that I need for this? Right. But there are opportunities where you could leverage your skill sets on a board of directors and get paid for it, right? Like, and you don't have to meet on a regular basis for some, or for some that are starting off, you may have to meet more regularly. But I think it's important to broaden your mindset when it comes to all of the opportunities that's within the cybersecurity space, because they're, particularly right now, they are looking for individuals who have insight from a government or even private sector, or just in cyber in general, because of the job scarcity that we have right now, or the upskilling opportunities that we have, because we just don't have enough individuals in the cybersecurity space. So, when seeing that you are a part of the board of directors, I was like, yes, let's because I don't think that
advisory boards too
at times.
So you can also join an advisory board. So I'm on a number of different advisory boards, and they meet even less, but they give advice to the organization. And you don't have to find a cyber organization to be on the board of directors for. Like, if you're looking at a cyber organization, you want to be on that board, it's going to be really difficult. But if you have a passion for like pets, or a passion for fashion or whatever, look at those organizations and those companies and say, hey, I can bring the cybersecurity perspective to this conversation.
Right.
When I moved to Vegas, obviously we know that all these casinos and everything have some sort of security, but it didn't dawn on me that they have whole security teams.
Completely.
I was like, well, duh, but that's not the first thing you think about, right? You think, okay, they're secure, they're really good, and that's not the case. And so you have to step outside of security, because every single organization and company needs somebody.
This is true.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't mind, if we pivot back to, just because you have so many different areas for someone. So my little cousin hit me up recently and she's like, oh, I'm interested in getting into cyber. Right. And so, of course, I do mentorship, and again, plug for the mentorship offerings or open hours that we have. Please feel free to sign up. You could meet with myself or some of the experts that we have here, and we could help with your career trajectory planning, answer any questions that you have, or just be like a source for you. But when she was asking me about, like, I really want to get into cyber, some of my questions were, well, which area, which realm, and, taking a step back, what are things that you could leverage? She has a really strong educational background. So being able to go into technical training and learning development and utilize that skill set as she's building her skills is really important. But I'd love for you to go through your portfolio of work and just talk to, if you were new, or what you would tell your younger self, like in the vulnerability space, right? Like, what are the things that the trainings that you wish you had, or just insight, or, as I mentioned, we really haven't talked about system architecture, and so maybe giving some color about that.
So I fell into those roles.
Yeah, as we typically do. Yes.
Because the reason I did vulnerability management, because I wanted to do pen testing.
Yeah.
They had it was a pen testing labeled role at the casino. They weren't actually doing pen testing. They had to first figure out how to secure the business after the hack that happened.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Makes
So,
sense.
and it was a really big deal. Like, it was one of those hacks. It was on par with being the same size as like Target or Sony, but nobody really knew about it because they have a lot of money. So one thing you'll understand is private sector has a lot of money, a lot of money. Don't let them
Can
fool you.
you
They
can you
don't.
repeat that for the people in the back? Because everyone is always saying, I want a federal contract.
Totally
But,
get it. But
however,
the private sector has money. The bank sector has money. Um, Oddly enough, even though the recession and the crash and everything affects certain cities and places as far as retail goes and tourism, there's a lot of money in that too.
mm-hmm.
Country. So those are just some options for y'all. But for my new self, for vulnerability management specifically, I probably wish that I would have known to have looked at the different standards that are out there. So like the ISO 27001 and the CIS benchmarks and some of these different regulations and benchmarks, because they're the ones that help you identify, okay, what's the baseline minimum I can do or have, or as far as
Mm-hmm.
security goes, so that now I know what to do and what to look for when I'm doing these vulnerability scans and understanding vulnerability management. And it's not just scanning for vulnerabilities. It's scanning, prioritizing, working with the teams to fix the stuff and to put a plan together to fix the stuff, rescanning, continuing to build the relationship. It's a whole circle of things that have to happen. I did read Vulnerability Management for Dummies. I think one of our competitors created it, so I can't say who it is, but Vulnerability Management for Dummies was actually pretty good primer for just kind of what it looks like and like how to approach this process. Because if you start scanning your environment that's got 60,000 IPs or endpoints, you're going to
Mm-hmm.
get 400,000 plus vulnerabilities.
Yes,
You got to have a plan
absolutely.
on how to figure out what to do, what to navigate. And so that book, even though it's short and it's the Dummy series, it really did help lay the foundation of what needed to be done. And then the other thing for that, I read networking.
Mm-hmm.
Networking is important. I would go on LinkedIn, like, because LinkedIn's a big deal now. Look for folks that do vulnerability management and talk to them. Say, hey, what do you do on a day-to-day basis? What
Yep.
recommendations do you have? Not only does that give you insight into what somebody in that type of role does, but it builds your network. It helps you
Mm-hmm.
come out of that comfort zone and start to talk to people. So now you've built this connection and you can continue to grow that relationship.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think the one thing too is, and Latoya mentioned this in hers, if you don't have a passion for like cybersecurity or incident response, you're
Yeah.
not going to drive for it, right? So it has to be something where you have a passion towards it and you have a passion towards learning and reaching out to others just to find like their tricks of the trade. And so, but yes, again, for cybersecurity architecture though, because that is like a big term right now that everyone is trying to like figure out and flesh out for their digital transformation to cloud or whatever it may be. And so it's a key term that is used differently
Across the board.
based off in different realms in IT.
Yeah, security architecture. So that was one of those things. I had told my manager, I said, I want to be a CISO one day. How do
Mm-hmm.
I get to this level? And this is when I was an engineer still. And so him and the CISO of the casino were like, you should go into this architecture role so that you can get the whole experience of what security for the entire organization looks like. So not just looking at security from like the SOC perspective and looking at alerts and triaging things in the SIMs or whatever it is, but looking at holistically, we're trying to transform the security of this casino. How
Mm-hmm.
do we do this over the course of the next 3 years?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What's the priority? What's going to continue to protect our crown jewels the most and give us
Mm-hmm.
bang for our buck? And so, with security architecture, I was exposed to endpoint projects because we did an endpoint project. CASB, because we did a CASB project to bring in the cloud access security broker stuff, firewall stuff to help with securing and making sure that, the rules that go into firewalls and that the things that are in the EDLs, what is it? External dynamic lists, for those who don't know what EDL means.
Sure.
It's basically just a text file with a bunch of stuff in there, and it goes into the firewall, and it does something on that end and blocks or allows or whatever it is. But just learning those different areas and understanding what those different areas were was super cool. And then you get to see all the technology.
Mm-hmm.
So from a customer perspective, I'm looking at 3, 4, maybe 5 vendors based on whatever our policy is. And we're looking at these different technologies, and we see all these new companies that come up, all of this different ways to do the same thing. And just like having these conversations with folks like me, sales engineers, what that does is it gives you exposure to a lot of stuff.
Sure.
2, it forces you to have to really learn architecture and where to put security controls and things in place. 3, it helps you prioritize what's important for your organization, what's going to be with casinos, it's availability.
Sure.
Like, cameras go out, tables have to shut down until they fix it. That means that table's not available. That means that, $400,000 that could have came off that table is not going to happen. They're focused on availability, then confidentiality.
There you go. Right. Yep.
National security, the government, they're focused on national security, right? So they're focused on confidentiality and integrity more so than maybe availability, because they don't have stuff that needs to be available 24/7.
Right.
So you get a wide range of experience in an architecture role. And I did architecture too when I moved to the company I'm at now, but it was on one specific product. It wasn't on, 18 cloud products and 15 firewall things and all these endpoint tools. But it's a great place to lead up to. There are trainings. I don't know if any of them are free. Ron Eddings from Hacker Valley Studios did a 1-hour presentation on architecture.
Okay.
New to Cyber Summits that happened last year. It's really good.
Okay.
Really straightforward. And it's a great primer to say, hey, this might be a cool place for me to go into and see. But yeah, lots of fun opportunities that aren't just hacking and SOC. And you might have to start there, but you can move into these other roles that are a lot fun too.
Yeah. No. And so one of the things I was thinking just as you were going through all of the terms, like if there's anyone that's interested in like changing positions, the terms that you used, confidentiality, integrity, and accessibility, these are like 3 main terms that in any realm, like security compliance, security operations, you want to be able to ensure that the information that you are putting out there is confidential, but then it's done with high quality from an integrity standpoint. So yes, just wanted to know you dropped all of your keywords. Right. I can tell you passed the test. So yes. So from a volunteer perspective, you touched upon different things that you're doing from the nonprofit side. In a past masterclass, we talked about the importance of having a combination of soft skills and your technical skills, right? And how that synergy actually will help you more, right? So to the point that you're making before, if you're not always like a public speaker, or if you're someone that is maybe more of an introvert, it's still kind of important to be able to communicate to all levels when you're dealing with a crisis of a breach, or, there's always going to be like you talked about like the different forecasting, right? Like having to plan like 3 years out or 5 years out. You're going to have to do presentations on like why you're doing that. Do you have any other suggestions like for that? Individuals trying to stay and maintain in their cybersecurity position or get additional skills just to stay on track or to get to the next level that they need, like from a soft and technical standpoint?
Definitely you need to be able to talk to people and have conversation. You need to be able to express the ideas and the goals and the outcomes of whatever it is that the folks that are doing the work are doing. And you have to be able to express that in a way that makes sense when it comes to ROI.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Boards care about, especially for-profit boards, they care about, are we going to make our money?
This is right. One.
and am I going to get paid my quarterly piece of that money?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the bottom line is, are we going to make the money? And so you have to be able to explain the situation, the issues, or whatever it is in a way that they understand,
Mm-hmm.
and know that you guys have it under control to fix it, or that you have a plan in place to start to fix that. That just takes practice.
Yeah.
That takes, finding a mentor, finding somebody that you can practice, these kind of conversations on, getting feedback on things, applying to speak at conferences. So CyberJitsu Con, June 24th, call for papers is open right now.
Okay.
We want
mark your calendars
from veterans, from people outside of the industry, whatever you think would be good for a conversation. But speaking, doing panels, doing these kinds of things. If you're an introvert and you're like super nervous and you're super scared, start with blogging, writing about stuff that's happening, writing about the things that might be important to you. There's a lot of newsletter sites out there that you can use to create a little newsletter and send something out. What that does is it shows that you're taking the initiative to continue to develop your skills. You're also working on your ability to communicate in written or verbal form.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
That's very important, depending on where you want to go in your career. If you want to just stay in the basement with the hoodie on, #hoodies.
There's an opportunity for that too.
There's nothing wrong with that. Like, do it because we need those folks to do it. But if you want to move up, if you want to get into management, you have to start thinking in a proactive way. You have to let people know, not everybody, but find your allies, find the folks that you can trust to say, hey, I have this desire, this goal in the next couple of years to move into this.
Yes.
Do you have any recommendations? Can you point me to who possibly could? Ask for stretch projects.
Yes, absolutely.
Those really show your manager that you're looking to expand your skill set, but that you're also trying to make sure you're a team player and you're helping with the team and all that stuff. And if you ask for stretch projects, try to have something in mind around what you would like to do.
You could create your own stretch project. You can create your own stretch project. And in times, if that stretch project is needed, it could create a position.
There you go. My manager schooled me on that 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
We had mid-year performance review because we're on a different fiscal year. And I want to do more stretch projects. And she goes, well, what kind? And I'm like, let me get back to you because I didn't know.
I just knew I wanted something different, but no,
I don't know what that means.
if you are crystal clear on your stretch goal, and if it's in alignment really with the strategic goal or initiative that's taking place, that one, it shows that you are taking the steps and you're being proactive, as you mentioned, in your career and understanding the space that you're working in.
Yep.
Now that's imperative for people to do.
Super.
Yeah. So there was one other, you mentioned something and it crossed my mind. Another mentorship meeting that I was in, an individual had asked me, similar to, she wanted to move up in her career, but she was having issues with feeling heard or feeling comfortable with her management team, or she felt as though her management team wasn't comfortable with her. And so she felt as though because of that, she wasn't getting information, and she wanted to know, like, how do you how do you get around that, right? And so one of my suggestions was similar to what you were saying, is to be very clear on like what you want, what your goals are, be very clear in meeting the expectations of your position, but seek sponsorship even if it's outside of that person that you may not, your personalities may not mesh, right? But if there's someone else that is going to be in the room to be able to speak to, you're doing this and you are showing and proving that you should be at the next level. But I don't know, would you have added anything else to that just based off of like work experience? I also feel like that almost, she also spoke about like imposter syndrome being created because of that, right? And so, we spoke about that too.
What you said is good. I'd recommend too, maybe reaching into a different department and getting support.
Not being afraid.
Yeah, and getting support from that other department, right? We always try to look in our chain of command, who our direct manager is, the next level, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes having that outside perspective and having that outside support goes a long way.
Couldn't agree more.
If her company has like employee network groups or things like that she can get involved in, those groups typically have executive sponsors. Those groups typically will have folks that you can tap into to talk to, say, hey, I have this goal. What can I do? How do I have this conversation with my manager?
Yes.
And just don't be afraid. Like, utilize the resources that you can utilize and make it work. Now, if you can't get any support from anybody in your organization at all, there's either something wrong with you or it's time to move companies.
Right.
It's time to move companies at that point.
Right.
Because unless management changes or unless leadership changes or unless some kind of behavior changes, it's going to be the same.
Right.
So,
can you speak to failure in fear, right? Because I think that comes up a lot too, that individuals are reluctant to change based off of fear or the thought of failing, right? And so is there any thoughts and suggestions about that in the cybersecurity space?
Don't be afraid to fail. I'm afraid to fail all the time too, but you know what? I look at it now as I've aged into my 25 years, quote unquote, of life. Failing, you have to fail. You know what I'm saying? Because if you never fail at anything, how do you grow? How do you know what you're actually really good at?
Good point.
And so while failure, yes, the feeling and the emotions that are around failure are like gut wrenching in some cases and like, super emotional. It's one of those things you need to have.
Absolutely.
Now I know, okay, I've failed 80 times, but guess what? Those 80 times helped me be successful as one. Because I knew what not to do. And now I can share this with other folks. Right?
It's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity that could turn into money also. But I get scared of stuff. I have fear. I'm like, dang, if I apply for this job, I might not get it. I'm gonna take myself out. And it's just like, yeah, but if you don't apply, you'll never know if you're gonna get it or not.
Yeah.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
This is true.
I just said that on a webinar this morning.
This is 100% true.
I think as women, we're trained to feel a certain way or be a certain way or to act a certain way. And so when things happen outside of that structure that we're forced into, especially Black women, it's like, oh, but sometimes that failure is the door you needed to get you to that next level.
Well said.
I got fired from armed security work because I didn't greet somebody in the bathroom that I had no clue who she was. And by me getting fired from that job, it allowed me to go right into my job at Accenture.
Look at that.
Because I was content. I was happy. I was like, oh, I'm making, $19 an hour or something that I was making this armed security work. And I was like, oh, I'm good. I got my bills are paid. My husband's in the Army. My mom's here. I just live with her. And then that changed. And then now I'm here 14 years later. So
Wow,
failure, fear, all of that stuff, I felt all of it then.
that's a great
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Lean into your fears, lean into the failure. Use that as energy to motivate you.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So we've covered a lot. Is
Yes.
there anything that you feel like we missed or that you want to share? As you know, as I say, for the masterclass, this is just an opportunity for us to all learn from each other, to create like a network.
Yes.
Again, there's going to be office hours. I've asked Mary too if she wouldn't mind, if there are things that you want to ask her directly, just because she has such a broad portfolio of work, on assisting with some of the office hours too, so you could get like a one-on-one with her. And she graciously, accepted and said yes. But but yes, we definitely just want this to be an opportunity for everyone to learn more about the cybersecurity space, information technology space, where you fit because you fit in it. And I love everything that you said about the not being afraid of failure, not being afraid, not having sorry, not being afraid of failure and not allowing your fears to get in the way. Because what I said in my master class is that as Black women, we are so resilient, and whenever I do have mentorship meetings and I hear my mentee saying the term cyber intimidates me, and I'm like, it should not.
It
Like,
should.
you do this, you do it in a different form, and you have transferable skills, and you can be very successful. And there's a want and need for your skill sets in this space at this time. There's no better time than to jump in. And you have support, from Opportunity Hub and, the different masterclass experts that we have here. And so I was a little delayed because I was looking to see if we received any questions. I know. Will there be a replay? Yeah, so this video will be provided on all social media um, platforms. So for the young lady who said that she was a little late, you'll be able to watch it later. And then you could always follow up with us if you have any immediate questions, and sign up for the open hour.
Yes. One thing I will say, and that's I have a LinkedIn learning course on landing your
Yes.
first cybersecurity role. It's on my LinkedIn page. I think it's the Mary Galloway. Follow me, connect with me. I'll connect with you guys, and there's a free thing on there. Take advantage of LinkedIn Learning, because I feel like if you take one class, they might give you a code or something to take another or two or three. There's a lot of Black women that have courses on there, both technical and non-technical, leadership and mentorship and things like that. And it's actually really cool, the push that LinkedIn Learning has done over the last couple of years to bring in more minority speakers and content creators in the cybersecurity space. So definitely check it out. Reach out to me if you guys need anything. Happy
Yeah.
to have a
And the
conversation.
other And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But the other thing is too, Nikki, who does the back end
Yes.
PR work, anything that Mary has mentioned, she will be sending it out to the blast of individuals who registered for it. And so we'll follow up with Mary also after if there's anything else that she wants to send out to those
Definitely.
that participated.
And if you guys have comments, okay. If you guys have comments or anything, just reach out. I'm happy to help, happy to give back how I can. And I
Yes.
don't know when I find time in the day to do all this stuff, but I make it work. So
Well, I can't thank you enough because one, I do realize how busy you are. And I appreciate from the second that we spoke, you were like, however, I could fit it in. And your schedule is not easy to get into. And so I want to graciously thank you for really taking the time to talk with us. As I said, I'm still going to be leaning on you for the office hours. And so, you're not going too far, but I thank you for your time. You truly are an inspiration with everything that you've done. Congratulations. And, I'm looking forward to us as a community, as an ecosystem, helping to build one another up in the cybersecurity space. And so, thank you again.
Sharika, don't be scared. Let's connect. She said she's an introvert, so let's connect. I know a bunch of introverts in the space that you can talk to, and they're in high positions. So,
absolutely.
Awesome. This was great. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to more partnerships, collaborations, all that good stuff. So,
absolutely. Well, thank you all. We're going to bring this masterclass to a close. Again, if you have any questions for myself, Mary, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you as always. Take care, everyone.
Bye.